Hi everybody, Drew here. Welcome to what is the, I believe, 11th episode of the Neurotic podcast. For those of you who might be first time tuning in, thank you for joining. I am coming to you live from Fayetteville, Arkansas, which is where I live. I'm in the yarn studio / office. If we're being honest, it's mostly a yarn studio and like a little bit of an office, but we'll just gloss over that detail. I'm Drew Jacobs 83 on Ravelry. I'm Drew in real life on Instagram, and you can follow me in those places to get updates about the podcast. So it's been a minute. I'm so excited to be here. I feel like I'm out of practice, and I have to apologize because the yarn studio is like reflecting my life right now. It's in kind of major disarray, not too major. But it's just a little crazy right now. And I've been traveling and work has just been really insane. But everything's really good. I'm doing well. And then I'm just really excited to share an update with you. So I have a ton to cover today. I'm going to really try to make it in under an hour. I know I'm a little chatty, for those of you who know me. And it's funny because somebody raised recently, I've actually had several people tell me this, like, I'm chatty one-on-one, so I consider this like a one-on-one kind of thing. And I'm chatty in a small group, but like once the number of people like exceeds 5, then I start to be really quiet. It's just my personality. I don't know, I've always been that way. But I'm really excited to share with you just some updates. So it's kind of fun. I think right around this time last year, maybe a little bit before, is when I started podcasting, and this is number 11. I had kind of set a goal unofficially to do a podcast a month, so I felt like a little short of that goal, but I'm hoping to do more of it this year. And I really enjoyed it. I continue to enjoy it. I continue to be asked, like, what are my goals? And my goal is just to kind of put myself out there a little bit, share a little bit, share techniques and patterns and things I'm working on. I'll say that this is like a knitting and life podcast. There's been lots of debates recently about, like, you know, why do podcasts matter? Do people who do podcasts have like no life or no friends? Kind of negative. This is just an outlet for me. You know, I think it's just a way to share. I live in a rural location and I don't have a huge knitting community like right by me. So it's also a conduit to, like, you know, feel like I'm connected to the knitting community as a whole. Anyway, that was a tangent. In today's podcast, the first thing that I want to start talking about is the men's knitting retreat. So a little bit of background information for those of you who don't know. The men's knitting retreats, actually plural, there's many retreats, I think started maybe 10 or 12 years ago. I want to say it was 12 years ago. And since then, it has really developed into something quite remarkable. You know, men are a very small segment of the knitting population. I should really know, as a data person, I should really know like what the percentage is. So I'm going to like make a mental note of that and check that out. But I would say we're probably under 10%, and that's probably even generous. We're probably like 5%. But anyway, these retreats are a way for male knitters from across the country and even the world to come together and to kind of share in the craft of knitting and share in kind of the brotherhood that is like being a male knitter, and to be outside and in nature and to take some classes and to have some social time and also just to unplug. So all that being said, if you're a guy knitter, you should absolutely do one of these retreats. Like, unequivocal, highest recommendation. I've been knitting for almost 10 years, and I'm like kind of kicking myself that I didn't do something like this sooner because I had such a good time. I went to the, it's called the Men's Spring Knitting Retreat, maybe Men's Spring Knitting Retreat Northeast. I should know that. But anyway, it's one of the, I think they're all highly regarded, but this one's like a really special one. And it happens at Easton Mountain, which is a retreat center in upstate New York, just north of Albany. It's secluded, which is really nice. It's kind of, it has really beautiful scenery. We all stay in like kind of lodge style cabin accommodations. And just as you would suspect, there's like a big lodge room where we convene and we can hang out and knit. I have to say that I just had such a great time. Like I'm still like I came back on Sunday and today is Thursday, and I feel like I don't want to say that I'm hungover because that has a negative connotation, but I'm still just kind of like my mind and my heart is still with those guys and at the retreat. And I had to work this week, which I actually really love my job, but I felt kind of like a little out of it this week as I transitioned back into like the real world, because I actually like totally unplugged as well. I mean, I really was not doing work stuff, and I was just kind of like in this retreat. And the thing that was really, there's so many cool things which I'm gonna gush. So like the next like 10 minutes is probably gonna be all of me just gushing and talking about this retreat. So you can like fast forward if you want. But one of the things that was really great is that I've communicated with a lot of the people who attended the retreat, but I've never met them in person. You know, we live in a world where Facebook and Ravelry and Instagram, you know, I'm seeing these people, so I follow them, and then I say hello, and then we start chatting, and you start to get to know somebody a little bit. But it was really awesome to actually get to meet a ton of the guys that I have, you know, been talking to and sharing my craft with in person. So that was really very special to me. And what I didn't expect to have happen was to feel so close to all the guys, like immediately. It was really, it was just really something special. And I will forever remember this first retreat as being something that I'm just gonna hold close to my heart. I just felt very included. I felt very affirmed. And in a way that I hadn't experienced before. So it just was really, really great. Logistically, I think the retreat itself was really fun. You know, we had a field trip to an alpaca farm. We had the option for 3 class sessions. I opted into 2. And I took a class from Franklin Habit on how to make custom fitted dog sweaters. I cannot recommend this class enough. First of all, it was the first class I'd ever taken with Franklin, and if you have not met Franklin, he is an absolute treasure, national treasure, international treasure, a kind man and a generous teacher. So like, I cannot recommend his classes enough. What I really liked about his class was it gave us kind of the skills we needed to kind of choose our own adventure with creating a dog sweater. As you guys know, I have 2 dogs that I'm like completely obsessed with, and I'm really looking forward to actually like applying the skills that I learned in the class to making some sweaters for my dogs. So highly recommended, really great class. And I know that Franklin's going to be teaching this class and then many others as a part of his like, you know, his day job, because that's what he does, is he teaches and travels and stuff. So you should definitely check him out. So I took that class, which was really fun. And then, and we also, it was really fun, we got to see like all the sweaters that he's knitted for Rosamund. So if you follow him on Instagram, you know that he has a pit bull, and so he brought all these really cool sweaters. He made a Wonder Woman sweater for her, which I thought was like really adorable. What else? I don't know. He had a couple other really colorful ones that were great. So I took that class, and then I also took a class on double knitting, which was really good. I don't know that like I meant to double knit. I think I'll still give it a go at some point, but it's very complicated. Like, I walked away feeling like, okay, this is something I can do, but I also felt like this is going to be something that's going to require like undivided attention and a lot of concentration, almost like an intense lace weight project or like a cabled project. Like, I would kind of put it in that category. I don't know that it's a fit for me, but I did really enjoy learning about it. I've always been very curious about it. Alistair Post-Quinn was our teacher for that one. I would also recommend him. He has a very good technical knowledge of double knitting, and that's like his bread and butter. He does that all the time. He's written many books on it. So you should check him out as well. Really, really, really excellent classes. I don't know if you can hear it, but I just recently got home from work and the dogs are going berserk. Like, yeah, you probably just heard that. Like, Oscar's like hacking a fur ball, and Dogan's running around the house probably like on a tear with the zoomies. So just ignore the background noise. So that was really great. What else? My roommate, Doug Morris, amazing. Again, somebody who I had, chatted with prior to retreat, but the opportunity to meet him in real life was really special. And couldn't have asked for a better roommate. And everybody, I mean, just, I can't mention all the names because there are too many. And I would leave somebody out and then I would feel terrible. So the other thing I wanted to just mention is big thanks to Joe Wilcox. So many of you know him as Queer Joe. He has a really wonderful blog, and if you haven't read his blog, you should definitely read it. Joe is a very talented knitter, and he's been kind of, I think, a leader and a visionary in the men's knitting community, particularly as it relates to these retreats. And so just very appreciative, Joe, to you and all of your hard work to make stuff like this happen. It's not lost on me as somebody who's living in the sticks, who doesn't get a lot of opportunities to kind of connect with people, knitter people, in particular male knitters, like what a special opportunity this was. So it was great. I came back relaxed and feeling recharged and feeling like I had just made some really dear friends, like in this course of like 3 days, like people who now I feel comfortable like texting and saying hey, and hopefully I'll stay in touch with. I'm definitely going to go next year. And in fact, they do some add-on days, and I'll probably do a bunch of add-on days as well, because it just was really lovely to be in upstate New York. Really beautiful region, by the way. Like if you've never been, in New York, but like upstate, like north of Albany in the Hudson River Valley area, it's the same general location as where Rhinebeck is held. You should check it out. I've now been in the fall, which is undeniably beautiful, but I've also now been in spring, and it's just amazing. Really, really remarkable. One other thing I forgot to mention is it's May, it's hot, so I'm bringing back Summer of the Tank Top. I get really warm, and the loft is really warm, so I apologize if this offends you. Whoops, sorry, my computer was going to sleep. That has all my notes because I'm a planner. But yes, hopefully it doesn't offend you. But yeah, I've got my tattoos for those of you who haven't seen. I've got roses from my garden on this arm. And I've got my owl on this arm. And probably more to come. Don't tell Mike, who is my partner. Okay, so that was men's spring knitting retreat. Amazing. I can't talk about it more because I feel like I'm gonna like get all like weepy and emotional. And I'm like I feel like I'm also kind of like the needy guy a little bit. Like after the retreat, I'm like texting people like, "Hey, how's it going? You doing okay?" Like I like want to like keep the momentum of the retreat going, and people are like, "Who's this psycho?" Everybody's like trying to transition back to like real life, and I'm like, "Hey." Anyway, so another just coincidentally. Like I'm basically spoiling myself this entire month. It's my birth month. Like I'm turning 36 on Saturday, which is crazy. But anyway, I'm spoiling myself because I had the men's knitting retreat this past weekend, and then I'm not this weekend, but the following weekend. So a week from today, actually, I'm leaving to go to the Plucky Knitter pop-up. That is going to be in Hastings, Michigan, which is just outside of Grand Rapids. Sorry, y'all, just sidebar, my allergies have not been, like, they have been so bad this year. Like, I can barely breathe. And I'm getting hoarse all the time. And it's from the allergies. Like, my eyes are itching and I'm hoarse and I'm like, oh. Anyway, Plucky Knitter. So I'm really excited because it's kind of like I'm getting like all aspects of like my like social life are like unfolding this month. I'm so excited. Like, I got to see all my guy knitting friends at men's knitting retreat, and that has its own vibe and feel and kind of like, you know, way that it is. And then I'm gonna basically see like all of my like best like lady friends at the Plucky Knitter retreat, which is really exciting. It's not really a retreat, it's more of like a pop-up event. So I'm really excited about that. I've been with Plucky Knitter for like a million years. Since before they were like really popular, like probably 2011, I want to say, is when I bought my first skeins from them. And I've tried to catch them at an event every year. And so this year, this is my event that I'm going to go to. I'm from Michigan as well, so it's always really exciting to be able to travel home and to be around people who sound like me. Which sounds kind of, that's like a weird thing to say, but it's oddly comforting to be around people who sound like you when you live somewhere else where people don't sound like you. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'll be seeing one of my best friends, Cassie Monksgard, as well as Tracy Kane, who's a college friend of mine and somebody who I've known for like over a decade. So yeah, and like there's a gazillion other people who I love. So I'm really looking forward to doing that. You know, it's going to be great. At this point, it's so funny because a lot of these events are places where you can buy yarn, and the Plucky event is definitely like a shopping kind of event. And I'm basically going just for like the social aspect. I mean, don't hold me to that because you all know me and there's like a literal wall of yarn behind me. I'm going to buy yarn. Like, duh. But I'm not gonna, like, that's not like I'm not like, oh my god, I gotta spend like $1 zillion on yarn and I need like these 85 different kinds. I'm planning some projects out, so I'll talk about those in a minute, but I have some ideas of things that I want to purchase yarn for. That's my new thing, is like I just don't want to buy like yarn for stash. I want to have a project in mind, know an exact yardage, like plan it out. And then if I don't do it, that's okay, and then it just can go for some other project. But at least I started out with a good intention. At least that's what I'm telling myself. Yeah, so that's Plucky, and I'm really excited about it. The event is really fun. They do like a market. There'll be like a charcuterie, snacky hors d'oeuvres, like middle section of the floor. And then in the back of their shop, they'll have a knitting lounge where people can kind of just hang out and chill. And it takes place in this very small town, and so you can walk to get ice cream. There are restaurants, so people just basically kind of hang out all day and sit and knit and hang out and just enjoy each other's company. And then they have evening ticketed events, which I always do because one, you get fed, and two, they have like really great swag. So yeah, I'm doing both those. It'll be really great. If you're in the general vicinity, you can come up to shop. So if you're in Chicago or Wisconsin or Indiana, I guess Ohio, though I'm a University of Michigan person, so. But anyway, you should come because it's really fun. So that's Plucky Knitter pop-up. Sorry, let me check my notes and scroll. So just hang tight for a minute. Okay. So now is the part of the program where I'm going to share yarn acquisitions as well as finished objects, as well as works in progress, as well as things that I'm planning to knit. So all of the knitting things are going to happen right now. So get excited. So I really, I want to just, give myself a little bit of a, shout out. I have not been buying yarn like crazy lately. Barely any yarn is coming into my home, which is a good thing. It's a little sad, but it's fine. I'm trying to be, good and save money and not go, overboard. But I did purchase some yarn since the last podcast, and it's really beautiful. So this is House of Alamode, who is one of my other favorite dyers. This is the top one. The navy one is a colorway called Officer and a Gentleman, and this is on her worsted base. Really pretty. And then this one is called Lightning Bug, and it's part of her glitter collection. And I love like a good acid green, and I also love a good speckle. And I just thought this one was really unique, and I thought it really set off the navy. So my plan for these is to make a Night Nook sweater. That's a Steve & West pattern. I'm slightly concerned, so I don't want to say something, this is not a criticism, but like worsted, like the term worsted, I feel like it is very subjective. And I know that it is actually. Like, you know, a worsted from Quince & Company is going to be different than like a worsted from somebody else is going to be different, you know. It's like clothing sizes. It's like medium. Okay, well, medium for one company means this, and medium for another company means this. So all that to say, it's a little light. So I'm not really disappointed, but I'm kind of disappointed because I really wanted to make that sweater out of this yarn, and then I could still do that, but it's going to require a bunch of math, and I'm going to have to make like a, you know, 5X to fit like a medium sweater. So anyway, more to come on that, but yeah, really nice. I cannot say enough good things about this yarn and the dyer. Heather is the dyer. She's out of Portland, and this yarn is just, it's like so good. I really like their DK weight. This is really nice, but it's really more of a DK weight. Even though it says worsted, it still feels very much like the DK weight. So that's my yarn acquisition. Okay, I'm not going to put it in the bag right now. It's too crinkly. Okay, so I have 2 items that I finished, and I don't know if I talked about this first one, so I'm just like going to talk about it again, and it might be a repeat, but I didn't want to miss it because it was really such a spectacular project. So this is my Night Shift shawl. So Andrea Mowry has done a series of Night Shift shawls out of spin cycle yarns. There's a cowl that is really popular. A friend of mine, Steven, just recently made it. It's smashing. There's also a shawl. So this is the shawl, and I think that it turned out amazing. I can't take credit for this color combination. This is actually the combination that Andrea used in her, like in the pattern itself, and I was like, I want that exact one, and so I made that exact one. I also want to show you, like, I think one of the things that makes this a really very unique and wearable piece is the size. So it's like not too big, but it's big enough. Like this I like because I can kind of tuck the one thing down, and this is long enough to stay on me without like flopping over every 3 seconds. And I just love it. The yarn is beautiful. It's not something that I would normally select. And it was a little pricey. So like going into it, I was like, I don't know about this. But I just really enjoyed it. The blocking went smoothly. I had an edge that really curled a lot, and that kind of freaked me out, but that was fine. It does need a block though. Like this is not a project that you're gonna get away with not blocking unless you want it to be really like curled up and kind of strange looking. So just know that you'll have to block it, but it's really, really beautiful and so worth it. Andrea Mowry Night Shift shawl. And the reason I saw that too, like it was really big at Rhinebeck. Like people were wearing them and they had kits, but of course I was like not in the know, and so then I missed the kits because it was like they sold out in 2 seconds. And but anyway, so it was Andrea Mowry Night Shift. The other thing that I finished, and I should have showed some of my buddies at the spring knitting retreat this project, is a shawl called the Slumber Shawl. And here that is. This is also pretty huge. I was obsessed with this. Like, generally speaking, I would say it probably takes me anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks to finish a shawl if I'm really committed and I'm like focused. And I finished this in like 2 weeks. Amidst everything else, amidst work and spinning and everything else, like I was like totally obsessed. Let me put it on, or attempt to put it on. The dogs are going nuts right now, by the way. They're just like going totally insane right now. I also really like this one. Now this one is much bigger than the other one, which I kind of like. The fun part about this is you use 4 colors of an Aran weight yarn, and I used Hedgehog Merino Aran. That is a yarn that I feel like does not get enough credit. It is, one, it's very affordable. It's like 25 bucks a skein, which is pretty good for like a nice hand-dyed yarn. Usually they can be 30 or 32, 34, so 25 bucks a skein. That's pretty good. It's ultra soft and so nice to work with. It's 100% merino, and it has just like this beautiful twist to it, and it takes the dye really nice. I'm just trying to give you like a super close-up so you can kind of see. And in this project, what you do is you pick 4 colors and you fade them, so it's really quite easy. And towards the end, you start adding in like all of these really beautiful scalloped edges. And I actually got this color combination. I'm not shy when it comes to contacting designers and dyers. So I just reached out to the Hedgehog Fibers person and I asked, I said, I really want to make this project. Here's some details about it. Like, what would you recommend in terms of color options? And she came back and she gave me like 10 options. I was like, girl, thank you. Thank you for your generosity. And this is another one where, you know, it benefited from the blocking process. The feather and fan really needs it. So again, you're gonna really want to block this. Oh, and I guess I should mention the colors I used were Magpie, Juniper, Salty Tails, which is like one of my favorite colors that Hedgehog does, and Hawk, which is a really dark, is like the dark black at the end. So yeah, Slumber Shawl, amazing, really fun. Okay, what next? So I guess I should talk about, whoop, oh my goodness, watch out there, tiger. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about 2 projects I'm working on. Okay, the dog like had a hairball for sure. Okay, so let me show you these two projects that I'm working on. See, this is the benefit of doing a podcast in one take. You guys get all of the outtakes, like the dog coughing in the background, me like almost knocking the thing over. You know, it's just my gift to you. Enjoy. This is life unedited. Okay. So the first item, this is actually not a new project, but it is one that I have kind of resurrected from the dead. As in it was like a work in progress for a long time, and then it like snoozed for a long time, and then I actually took this with me to the men's knitting retreat, and okay, I gotta check on the dogs. Give me just 1 second, I'm distracted, so I'm gonna leave the camera rolling. Oscar, what is your problem? Get down from there, Dogan. Get down. Get down, Dogan. Those dogs, I'm telling you. I love them. I really do. But they're being naughty today. Like, super naughty. Like, the one was just on in my knitting chair. No. That's a hard no. Anyway, sorry. We call that Mean Mommy, so Mean Mommy just came out, so I apologize for that. Okay, so back to knitting. So this scarf is called the Broken Garter Scarf, and it's just beautiful. Like, so part of the, like, what I'll say about this pattern, it's stupid easy. It's very soothing in an odd way. It's sequence knitting, so like it's just a one row over and over and over and over and over again until you like decide that you want to stop. So there's like a nice like kind of freedom to that. And the other thing is like, so two things I'll say. One is, if you have a beautiful yarn that you're like, oh my gosh, I love the color, but I don't know what to do, like this is a perfect pattern for something like that, because it just, it's really classic and it just lets the yarn shine. So like, I just thought that this color was gorgeous. And this is yarn from Plucky Knitter. It's called, the base is called Traveler Erin. It is discontinued. It hurts my heart that it's discontinued because it is like one of my favorite bases of all time. It has silk, yak, and merino wool. And anyway, I just thought that the yarn really needed something special so it could really shine. It's also, so that was number one. You know, if you've got a great yarn and stash that you've been hoarding that you like want the perfect project for, this is a really good one for that. Second is, this is a great scarf for a guy. Ladies too, but like this is such a classic kind of just very neutral pattern. It's got a little bit of interest with these columns, but very wearable. Like you could give this scarf to literally any guy, like whether he's fabulous and gay or whether he's like, oh my god, like I'm totally straight and like, no, oh, knitting's so stupid and gay, like, you could give it to a guy like that too and he would love it. Just like knit it in like a boring gray and he'll be totally fine. Anyway, so Broken Garter Scarf, Pearl Soho free pattern. So that's that one. Okay, let me put this away or just throw it to the side for a second. Okay, and then my last one that I'm going to share with you all today, knitting wise, is dun 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 dun. It has so many ends. I'm like slightly embarrassed. Is this scarf called Halo's Arrow. It's also been folded in the bag, so it's got a little wrinkles on it. But yeah, Halo's Arrow. So let me talk a little bit about this pattern. My good friend Erin Jensen is the designer for this pattern. She is Mommy to Lou, Mommy the number 2 and then LU on Instagram. She's Twin Needles on Ravelry. That's like her design house name. And this is such a great pattern. It's essentially like a basic chevron scarf pattern. So you start at the bottom and you kind of increase using this triangle. So you've got a set of increase rows that you follow, and then you're basically just like doing the same 2 rows to create like a chevron shape. And then I'm just changing my colors. A couple things that I did. Her original pattern was for a very wide, more stole, like kind of wrap-like piece. And I just don't like, I don't like super wide scarves. And so what I did is I just reduced the number of stitches that I cast on. Or not that I cast on, but I didn't increase as much. So I stopped my increases like way early. And it's a really nice setup because all you do is you just knit this little triangle and you can actually, as you go, kind of lay it flat and you'll be able to see like what the width of the scarf is. So just continue until you get to a number of stitches that you feel like the width is the right width for you. So for me, I think it was like 87 stitches or 83 stitches. And then just knit on. And what I'm doing that's really wild for me, which I almost never do, is I'm following the pattern but not really. Neurotic? I don't know. I might have to change the name of this podcast if this like pans out to like the Relaxed Knitter podcast, the Chill Knitter podcast. Everybody who knows me is like laughing hysterically right now because I am not chill or relaxed in general about knitting. I mean, I'm getting much better actually, but my colors, so these were all stash yarns. This is Plucky Knitter Primo Sport. That's the other thing that I really like about this. Sport weight, what a great weight for a scarf. It's the kind of thing that you can throw on. It's not going to be too heavy. You could do like, I like to do like the kind of thing where you like fold it over and then you pull it through. With my scarves, you could totally do that. It won't be too hot. I'm doing it in like what I'm calling, I keep telling people, this is like 70s kitchen meets autumn scarf. Like, those are the things I think of. It's like avocado and orange and like a really beautiful blue and a chocolate brown and then this cool like khaki color. Anyway, I'm slightly obsessed with it. I have like a zillion ends to weave in. If anybody wants to weave my ends in, we can make a deal. We'll make a deal. You weave my ends in and I don't know. We'll make a deal. So Halo's Arrow, really, really great. So yeah, that's what I'm working on. Now I wanted to talk for a moment, if I can get my computer back up. This is like the worst, like worst in terms of like my preparation. Like I'm rusty, guys. So like I'm like going off camera. I'm like my computer's not working. Okay. So I told you that I was gonna talk a little bit about the projects that I'm planning on making. As a part of that, I'm also planning on shopping for these projects when I go to Plucky Knitter Pop-Up. There are 3. So one of them is a scarf, kind of triangular, really shallow. I guess it's a shawl, but it's like more of a scarf. It's triangular, and it's called Vorfreude, VORFREUDE, I think. I'm not a very good speller. So that one is by Moni Eber, and it has kind of like a plaid look to it. So I want to make that. And then 2 sweaters. So one I am like really excited for. It is the sweater. I don't quite know what the name is. It's by MSKR, and he has been a rising star, I would say, over the last year in color work. He did this really cool. He's been doing like a lot of Fair Isle yokes, and so he did one that has nerdy foxes on it, and it's called For Fox's Sake. So funny. And then there was another one with deers on it with little bow ties, super cute. And now he's got one that is in testing that has roses. Stop the presses. I'm so excited for this. The only thing that I'm nervous about is that it's fingering weight. So it's like gonna be on like size like -5 needles. So I'm worried that I might not finish it, but I really want to attempt it. And I think that if it works out and I like it, it'll be nice to have that kind of a piece. So for those of you who don't knit or haven't knit a sweater, you know, it's like a lot of sweaters are like DK or worsted. And so they're heavier, you know? So I think this will be a really good piece of my wardrobe. Like I don't have a fingering weight sweater. I don't even have a sport weight sweater. So I'm excited about that. So I'm going to try to find yarn for that. And I'm thinking I'm going to do like a black sweater with a gray. There's 3 colors in it. There's like the how do I explain it? There's the background color for the full sweater, like kind of the major color. And then there's like a placket, almost like a background for the yoke. And then there's like the rose color itself. So I'm thinking I'm gonna do like black for the whole sweater and then gray for the like background placket color. And then like a real punchy color for the rose, like maybe a beautiful peach or maybe a gold color or maybe even a bright red. I'm kind of fixated on making it like realistic. So I'm not gonna pick like electric blue because not that I don't know of electric blue roses unless they're like artificially dyed. So I'm gonna be kind of like a weird hipster, like purist on that front. So I'm excited about that. MSKR, you can I can't remember what the name of it is, but they're like people posting about it. So if you go on Instagram, you can find out more information about that sweater. And then Marshland, which is, it came out in the Tin Can Knits Fair Isle book that was released. I think it was late, maybe like midway through last year. Really beautiful sweater, and I want to make that. So those are the three: Vorfreude, the rose sweater, and Marshland. So that's knitting. I think that's all I'm working on. I'm actively working on the scarf. That's the thing that I'm like most focused on, followed by Halo's Arrow, followed by who knows what after that. I wanted to kind of switching gears really quick. I wanted to spend a little time offering some reflections as I am about to turn 36. And so it's kind of crazy. I don't feel like I'm ready to be 36 yet. I don't feel like that. I don't feel that old. I feel like it doesn't feel like I've lived that much life, but I have. And I think one of the things. Sorry, one more. I have to step away for one more second. I'm coming back. Don't tune out. Okay. Sorry about that. I feel like this podcast is like so unprofessional. So I apologize for that. The dog's just going bananas. I had to like give them a timeout. Back to the podcast. So sidebar, like I'm so technologically inept that like I don't even know how to like pause and then like return to the video. And I try to avoid editing my podcast. Like I just don't enjoy that part of the process. So I do everything in one take, and you guys get just like the whole one take, and for better or worse. So today things are going crazy and you're getting to witness it. So hope you're enjoying it. Okay, so reflections. You know, in all seriousness, this has been such an important year for me personally. I think, to be honest, like, I think, I'm like hesitant to say it, but in my work life, things have been not bad, but they just have not been panning out like exactly how I would have anticipated they would pan out. And that has made me think a lot about like what I would refer to as like the fullness of my life. So thinking about me as a whole person, and thinking about not defining myself just by like my job and my success in my job and my upward momentum and my salary, like all these things that like society tells us are really important and like the only things that matter. They're not the only things that matter. And in fact, they're like, I've kind of come to, and now the dogs are like gonna like start crying because they want to be out, but they can't be out right now. What was I saying? So I've just thought a lot about like a well-rounded life over the last year or so, and even really since January. I'll be honest, and I will just admit that I've been really like, I don't know, I would say over the last 10 years, like work has been like a really important part of my life. To the point where I think I've been like maybe overly obsessed with it. And I don't know that it was like totally healthy. Like I think that not that I was like overworking or like a workaholic, but I think I was putting too much of my, like I was assigning too much of my self-worth to work and my success at work. And also I think that like sizing myself up against other people on my team. So anyway, way too personal, apologies. But it made me feel sad for a while. You know, I was in like a place where I was like just not feeling good enough. And in the last few months, I've really focused on other parts of my life, and developing other parts of my life. And I think that that has like made me just like overall healthier. So I guess that is like that is a piece of advice that I would give to people out there. So, you know, I'm not that old, but like a piece of wisdom that I have, I think now that I wouldn't have had even a year ago or 2 years ago, is like, think about your life as a whole thing. You know, think about all the things that surround you, both in and out of work, and focus on balance. You know, I think for me, one thing that I started doing this year that has been so amazing is doing this exercise thing. So I started spin bike earlier this year, and it has really added a lot to my well-being. It is making me feel good physically. I feel strong and healthy, and that was something that I wasn't focused on before. You know, I was focused on other stuff, and I made time and room for that, and I'm so glad that I did it. The same thing goes for like knitting. You know, I'm continuing to make time for that and prioritizing that. Also, I think, guys, hey, Oscar, that's enough. You would think that like the world is ending for these dogs because I am not letting them wreak havoc in the house. I don't know what's happening with them today, but they are like bananas. And they got a walk, like a long walk before I started this podcast. Driving me crazy. This is gonna make me like this podcast is gonna like look like I hate my dogs, but I actually like I'm obsessed with them. They're just like driving me crazy in this moment right now. But like 99.8% of the time, I love them to death. The other thing that I would say too is I'm starting to like, this is also an overshare, so I apologize for that, but I'm starting to like accept my body a little bit more and feel good about like how I look and how I feel in clothing and my weight and all of these things. You know, I think for gay men, there's like a really like, just like for women, I mean, it's not the same thing as for women because women have, I think, like a lot more pressure, but it's similar in some ways where there's this like standard of you got to have a six pack and like you got to be ripped and you got to go to the gym like 18 times a week. And it's just, there are standards in the, you know, gay community, none of which I like really am interested in, and none of which I really like fit the mold of. But anyway, I'm just kind of like, all of this is like really disjointed, but all of it is kind of under this umbrella of like self-acceptance, loving yourself, and feeling like you're good enough, because you are. I'm saying that kind of to myself, but I'm also saying it to you. Like, there's so much crap that goes on. You can really get bogged down in negative, and you know, there's no need for that. Try to focus on the positive as much as you can. But live your life. I mean, I'm not the boss, so do what you want. Okay, I'm gonna wrap up, because now I'm kind of like distracted because of those dogs. Let's see. So other updates, just very quickly. Our roses are in bloom. I've shared a couple of Instagram lives with the roses, and they are blooming like crazy, which is really exciting. It's like one of our favorite times of year when that's going on. They smell amazing, so we keep bringing bouquets in, which is really fun. And three other things. I've watched a couple of Netflix shows that I would recommend. So one was recommended to me by my friend John Callis. It's called Dead to Me. It stars Christina Applegate from Married with Children. For those of you who are like old enough to know that show, let's see, I'm dating myself. She's awesome. It's like really dark, but also kind of funny. And I watched the whole thing. I totally binged like completely out on it, and it was like awesome. And then the other thing that I'm like, I don't know if I like this is for public audiences, but I'm just gonna say it. There's another show on Netflix called Bonding, and it's about like it's like this kind of like again kind of a darker comedy about two individuals who are in their job is like BDSM, so like bondage. But it's not like it's not like too sexual. It's more about like the characters and their their relationship and kind of all of like the backstory behind that. And it's really it's pretty entertaining. I just clicked on it. Like I just decided to start watching it. Nobody recommended that one to me. I just was curious about it. And it's turned out to be really good. The final thing that I will say is I'm accepting music recommendations. I'm really excited to kind of expand my horizons with music, and I'm just putting like an all call out there to people. If you've got great music that you love, if you would email me or put a comment on YouTube about some of your favorite albums, I would really appreciate that. So that's it. I did it. I accomplished my goal, in part to the dogs who are like now going like they're dying. They're fine. See, did you hear that? Anyway, thank you for joining me. Next time, it will not be such a like haphazard, crazy shit show of a podcast. I'm Drew. I hope you'll come back and join me some other time. And until next time, I wish you guys a wonderful rest of your day. And now I've got to like, of course, have my my little clicker issue. Okay. Bye, everybody.